Hamilton's arrival at Ferrari raises many questions. Did they make a mistake by letting Sainz go too soon? Stay until the end, and I'll reveal exclusive insights from a Ferrari executive. Subscribe only if you love Lewis Hamilton and want him to become an 8-time world champion. Lewis Hamilton's move to Ferrari was never just another driver switch, never just a contractual negotiation, never just a high-profile transfer that would generate headlines for a few weeks before fading into the routine of another Formula One season. No, this was a moment that shook the very foundation of the sport, a seismic shift that sent shockwaves through every level of the paddock, from team principals to engineers, from rival drivers to dedicated fans who had spent years dreaming of the day they would see Hamilton in Ferrari red. It was the ultimate power move, a decision that instantly transformed the landscape of Formula One, a move so colossal that it felt less like a mere career decision and more like an act of destiny. This wasn't just about Hamilton. This wasn't just about Ferrari. This was about history itself, about rewriting the narrative of the sport, about creating a spectacle so grand that it would be spoken about for generations to come. The very idea of Hamilton, one of the greatest drivers to ever grace the sport, a man who had conquered the modern era with unmatched dominance, stepping into a Ferrari cockpit was intoxicating. It was the perfect fusion of legacy and legend, the intersection of the sport's most successful team and its most celebrated driver, a combination that seemed almost too perfect to be real. It was the kind of move that transcended sport, the kind of moment that drew in casual observers and hardcore fans alike, uniting them in sheer anticipation. Hamilton, draped in Ferrari red, taking on the grid with the prancing horse on his chest, fighting for that elusive 8th world title, gunning for immortality. It was the stuff of dreams. The kind of story that would be told and retold, the kind of narrative that would define an era. The excitement was deafening. The expectations were astronomical. This was supposed to be the moment that changed everything. Subscribe only if you love Lewis Hamilton and want him to become an 8-time world champion. But not everyone believed in the fairy tale. Not everyone bought into the spectacle. Not everyone saw Hamilton's move as a stroke of brilliance. And among the skeptics, one voice cut through the noise louder than all the rest. The voice of Bernie Ecclestone, the man who built modern Formula One, the mastermind who shaped the sport into the global phenomenon it is today, the former kingmaker whose words still echo across the paddock with undeniable authority. Ecclestone is no ordinary observer. He is not a casual analyst, not a neutral bystander watching from the sidelines. He is a man who has seen it all, orchestrated it all, and influenced the fate of champions for decades. And now, with Hamilton's Ferrari era set to begin, he has unleashed a brutal, unfiltered, and unapologetic verdict, one that threatens to cast a shadow over everything. To Ecclestone, this is not a new dawn for Hamilton. This is not the beginning of a new dynasty. This is not the triumphant chapter that the world expects it to be. No, this is the beginning of the end. This is a doomed venture, a desperate grasp at something unattainable, a move destined to crumble under the weight of its own ambition. His words are not cautious skepticism, not tempered doubts expressed with polite diplomacy. They are daggers, cutting deep into the heart of the optimism surrounding Hamilton's Ferrari dream. In Ecclestone's view, Hamilton will not succeed. He cannot succeed. He lacks what is necessary. He is past his prime. His reputation has been built on circumstance rather than pure ability. His success, his records, his dominance, they were never truly his own, but rather the result of having the best car, the strongest team, the most advantageous environment. And now, stripped of those advantages, placed in a system that does not revolve around him, Ecclestone believes Hamilton will finally be exposed. Subscribe only if you love Lewis Hamilton and want him to become an 8-time world champion. His criticism is relentless. According to Ecclestone, Hamilton is not stepping into a team built for him. He is stepping into a team built around Charles Leclerc. A team that has already chosen its future, already shaped its direction, already placed its trust in a young driver they see as their long-term investment. In Ecclestone's eyes, Hamilton is not Ferrari's savior. He is not their golden child. He is a temporary guest in a house that does not belong to him, a driver who will always be second in the eyes of a team that prides itself on loyalty and heritage. The idea that Ferrari will restructure itself around Hamilton, that they will give him the same level of control and influence he wielded at Mercedes, is, to Ecclestone, pure fantasy. He believes that the team politics, the deep-rooted traditions, the unwavering faith in Leclerc, will all conspire against Hamilton, leaving him as an outsider fighting an unwinnable battle. But Ecclestone's doubts do not stop there. He does not merely question Hamilton's ability to integrate into Ferrari. He questions Hamilton himself. His talent. His fire. His hunger. His very essence as a driver. In Ecclestone's mind, Hamilton's best days are behind him. He is not the relentless force he once was, not the cold-blooded competitor who once fought for every inch of track, who once willed his way to victory even when the odds were stacked against him. No, in Ecclestone's view, Hamilton has softened. He has become distracted, his priorities have shifted, his focus has been diluted by a lifestyle of luxury, fashion, music, activism, celebrity. The man who once lived and breathed racing, who once dedicated every fiber of his being to the pursuit of speed, is no longer that same relentless warrior. And in the unforgiving world of Ferrari, in a car that is not tailor-made for him, against rivals who are younger, hungrier, and in the prime of their careers, Ecclestone sees only one outcome: defeat. His words are a direct challenge. They are not just an opinion, they are a statement of war. A provocation aimed squarely at Hamilton, designed to test his resolve, to see if there is still fire in his veins, if he still has the capacity to prove the world wrong. They are a message to the fans, to the media, to the entire sport, an attempt to force a conversation about Hamilton's true legacy, about whether he was ever truly as great as his numbers suggest. And the debate has already begun. The war of words has ignited. The division is clear. On one side, those who believe in the dream, who see Hamilton's move as the ultimate challenge, the final chapter of an epic saga that will end in glory. On the other, those who believe Ecclestone is right, that Hamilton's time has passed, that Ferrari will be his downfall, that this experiment will collapse under the weight of its own expectations. Subscribe only if you love Lewis Hamilton and want him to become an 8-time world champion. But if history has taught us anything, it is that Lewis Hamilton does not surrender to narratives written by others. He does not accept predetermined outcomes. He does not bow to the expectations of those who doubt him. He has built his career on defying the odds, on proving the impossible possible, on rising when others expected him to fall. And now, with the weight of the world on his shoulders, with the doubters sharpening their knives, with Ecclestone's words hanging over him like a storm cloud, he has one final chance to do what he does best: silence them all. The moment is approaching. The season is about to begin. The engines will roar, the lights will go out, and Hamilton will finally take his first race start in Ferrari red. And in that instant, the battle will truly begin. Will Ecclestone be proven right? Will Ferrari be Hamilton's downfall? Or will this be the greatest comeback in the history of the sport? The answer is coming. The world is watching. And when the dust settles, Formula One will never be the same again. From the very moment the rumors of his move began swirling, the world of Formula One has been in a state of perpetual frenzy. This is not just another driver changing teams. This is not a routine transition from one powerhouse to another. This is a paradigm shift, a historic gamble, a move so bold and so unprecedented that it has already reshaped the competitive landscape of the sport before a single lap has even been completed. This is the story of a 7-time world champion, a man who has shattered records, redefined excellence, and transcended the very boundaries of what a driver can achieve, embarking on the most audacious chapter of his career. And the stakes could not be higher. These are not casual remarks made in passing. These are statements that have sent shockwaves through the sport, declarations that have sparked endless debates, and warnings that have been dissected by every analyst, every team principal, and every fan who has followed Formula One with bated breath. This is not just about racing anymore. This is about legacy. This is about rewriting history. This is about whether one of the most iconic drivers in the sport's history can defy the odds, silence his critics, and cement his place as the greatest of all time in the most dramatic fashion imaginable. Hamilton is not merely stepping into a new team. He is walking into the eye of a storm, into the most treacherous, politically charged, and historically complex team in Formula One. Ferrari is not just another constructor. It is the beating heart of Formula One, the most storied and revered name in motorsport, a team whose triumphs and tragedies have shaped the very fabric of the sport. But it is also a battlefield, a place where alliances shift like sand, where internal power struggles have often determined championships, and where the pressure is relentless, suffocating, and unforgiving. This is a team where the weight of expectation is not measured in podiums, but in world titles. It is a team where heroes are made and legends are broken, where drivers do not simply compete, but fight for survival in a political minefield unlike any other. And now, according to Bernie Ecclestone, a man who has spent more time shaping the inner workings of Formula One than anyone alive, Hamilton is walking directly into the lion's den, not just as a competitor, but as a target. And the threat is not merely external. It is not just Red Bull's dominance or Mercedes' desire for redemption that he must contend with. The real battle may not even be against the other teams. The real war might be fought within the walls of Maranello itself. Ferrari has never been a team that operates with absolute harmony. It has always been a team where rivalries fester, where divisions emerge, where the battle for supremacy extends beyond the track and into the very structure of the team itself. For years, Charles Leclerc has been the face of Ferrari. He has been the driver that the Scuderia has built around, the man who the Tifosi have pinned their hopes on, the prodigy who was supposed to lead them back to the promised land. And now, Hamilton arrives not as an understudy, not as a teammate in the traditional sense, but as a direct challenger to that throne. The battle for dominance within Ferrari will not just be decided by lap times. It will be a battle of influence, of authority, of control over the direction of the team. And history has shown that Ferrari does not always handle internal rivalries with grace. Skepticism about Hamilton's move is not just speculation, it is rooted in cold, hard facts. He arrives at Ferrari at a critical juncture in his career, at a time when his standing as the greatest driver of his generation is under more scrutiny than ever. The past few years have been a war of attrition, a brutal struggle to remain competitive in a Formula One landscape that has been increasingly unkind to Mercedes. Ever since the infamous 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, where he was denied what should have been a record-breaking 8th world title in one of the most controversial finales the sport has ever witnessed, Hamilton has been in a fight to reclaim his place at the top. But that fight has been anything but easy. The transition to the ground effect era of Formula One has exposed weaknesses within Mercedes that even Hamilton's brilliance has been unable to fully overcome. The statistics paint a harsh reality. In 2022, Hamilton endured the first winless season of his career, a jarring contrast to the dominance he once exerted over the grid. It was his younger, fiercely ambitious teammate, George Russell, who delivered Mercedes' only victory that year, a fact that sent shockwaves through the paddock. For the first time in over a decade, Hamilton was not just battling for wins, he was battling for relevance. The whispers began. Had he lost his edge? Had time finally caught up to him? Was this the beginning of the end? In 2023, there were flashes of the Hamilton of old, the relentless competitor, the master strategist, the driver who could extract pace from even the most uncooperative machinery. But the overarching reality remained unchanged. He was not fighting for championships. He was not dictating the pace of Formula One. Red Bull had elevated itself to an entirely different stratosphere, and Hamilton was left in a position he had not been in for over a decade, on the outside looking in. And now, in what could be the most pivotal decision of his career, he has chosen to step away from the team that defined his legacy, the team that built its dynasty around him, to take on the ultimate challenge. Ferrari is not just a new team, it is an entirely new world, a place where patience is thin, where scrutiny is unrelenting, where success is demanded immediately. There is no grace period. There is no adjustment phase. He must deliver, and he must do so from the very first moment he steps into the car. The pressure is unlike anything he has faced before. The expectations are astronomical. Every single move he makes, every word he speaks, every lap he completes will be analyzed, dissected, and debated by millions. He is not just racing for himself anymore. He is racing for the weight of Ferrari's history, for the millions of tifosi who live and breathe the sport, for a team that has spent over a decade searching for the driver who will return them to the pinnacle. And yet, for all the doubts, for all the skepticism, there remains one undeniable truth. Lewis Hamilton has never backed down from a challenge. He has built his career on defying expectations, on silencing critics, on proving time and time again that he is not just one of the greatest drivers in the history of Formula One, but the greatest. This will not be easy. It will be a season defined by rivalries, by politics, by moments of triumph and adversity. The battle within Ferrari alone will be one of the most captivating storylines in the history of the sport. But the war extends far beyond Maranello. The entire grid is bracing for impact. Red Bull knows that Hamilton's arrival at Ferrari could shift the balance of power. Mercedes, his longtime home, is preparing for a future without him. McLaren, the team that first brought him into Formula One, is surging forward and could soon enter the title fight. The entire sport is on edge. The countdown has begun. The battle lines have been drawn. And when the lights go out at the first race of the season, the world will witness something unprecedented. This is not just another season. This is not just another driver in a new team. This is a defining moment in the history of Formula One, a story that will be told for generations. And at the center of it all stands Lewis Hamilton, a man with nothing to prove, yet everything to win. Bernie Ecclestone's skepticism about Lewis Hamilton's move to Ferrari is not just casual doubt. It is a belief rooted in decades of experience, a prediction formed from watching countless greats fall victim to the political, cultural, and operational complexities of Maranello. He does not see this as an opportunity for Hamilton to add to his legacy. He sees it as a high-risk, low-reward scenario, a move that could ultimately tarnish his career rather than elevate it. Because in Ecclestone's eyes, Ferrari is not just another team. It is a beast of its own, a machine that has operated in the same ruthless, chaotic, and often self-sabotaging manner for decades, and no driver, not even a 7-time world champion, is immune to its traps. The warning signs, Ecclestone argues, are already clear. Ferrari is not a team that adapts to a driver must adapt to Ferrari. It is an institution steeped in tradition, a racing dynasty that does not easily accept outsiders. It does not bend to the will of even the most accomplished individuals, and history has proven that it is often those who arrive with the biggest reputations that struggle the most. And Hamilton, despite his monumental achievements, is still just that, an outsider. He is not woven into the DNA of Maranello. He is not a product of Ferrari's system. He does not carry the legacy of a driver who has fought through the trenches of Ferrari's internal warfare and come out the other side still standing. But Charles Leclerc does. To Ferrari, Leclerc is not just a driver. He is their chosen one, the embodiment of everything they want to be. He is young, immensely talented, fiercely loyal, and above all, deeply embedded in the culture of the Scuderia. He has endured the agony of championship hopes slipping away due to strategic miscalculations, the heartbreak of seeing race victories stolen by mechanical failures, and the frustration of watching his prime years wasted in a car that was never quite fast enough. And yet, he has never wavered in his devotion to Ferrari. He has never flirted with other teams. He has never given them a reason to doubt him. He has suffered for this team, and now he is entering his peak years, years that Ferrari has no intention of sacrificing to make room for a new arrival, no matter how decorated he may be. This, Ecclestone believes, is where Hamilton's problems will begin. Ferrari, for all its grandeur, is not known for its equal treatment of drivers. It has always had a number one, a figure around whom the team revolves, a driver whose success is prioritized above all else. And if history is any indication, the driver is already Leclerc. It does not matter that Hamilton is the most successful driver in Formula One history. It does not matter that he has shattered records, conquered eras, and changed the sport forever. In the eyes of Ferrari's hierarchy, Hamilton is the new addition. He is the one who must prove himself. And no matter how fast he is, no matter how hard he fights, he will always be fighting against more than just his rivals on track. He will be fighting against the deeply ingrained favoritism that has existed within Ferrari for generations. And then there is the question of motivation. Ecclestone does not just doubt Ferrari's ability to fully back Hamilton. He doubts whether Hamilton still possesses the same unrelenting drive that once made him unstoppable. He sees a driver who has been in the sport for nearly 2 decades, a man who has climbed every mountain, who has broken nearly every record, who has rewritten history in ways that few ever thought possible. And while Hamilton insists that he still has unfinished business, that he still burns with the same competitive fire, Ecclestone is unconvinced. Formula One is a sport that demands total obsessive dedication. It is not just about skill, it is about hunger, the relentless, insatiable desire to win at all costs. And Ecclestone questions whether Hamilton still has that. When he was fighting for his first title, when he was battling in the trenches of cutthroat championship fights, when he was proving himself against the very best, he had something to chase. He had a reason to push beyond his limits. But now, he has 7 world championships. He has over 100 race wins. He has solidified himself as one of the greatest to ever do it. And what happens when a driver has already accomplished everything? If Hamilton had been denied a championship, if he had spent years agonizing over near misses, perhaps there would still be a fire inside him that could not be extinguished. But he has lived the dream. He has stood at the top of the mountain over and over again. And Ecclestone believes that deep down, Hamilton knows that no matter what he does at Ferrari, he will never achieve more than he already has. He will never eclipse the dominance he had at Mercedes. He will never have the same level of control, the same level of influence, the same level of certainty. And when a driver no longer has that, their edge, the thing that separates champions from legends, begins to dull. But even if Hamilton somehow finds a way to summon that hunger again, Even if he proves that he is still just as driven, just as ruthless, just as determined as he was in his prime, there is still the matter of Ferrari's internal politics. And that, more than anything else, is what Ecclestone believes will be Hamilton's undoing. Because Ferrari is not just about racing. It is about power struggles, about loyalty, about a culture that is resistant to change. It is a team that has historically been as self-destructive as it is brilliant. A team that has let politics ruin championship campaigns time and time again. And Ecclestone sees the writing on the wall. Hamilton will not just be fighting Verstappen, Norris, and Russell. He will be fighting Ferrari itself. He will be battling an establishment that is built to serve its own agenda, an institution that does not easily accommodate outside influence. Even if he delivers results, even if he wins races, will Ferrari truly stand behind him when it matters most? Or will they, as they have done so many times before, protect their own at his expense? And if the cracks begin to show, if Ferrari starts making decisions that favor Leclerc, if Hamilton begins to sense that he is not being given the full backing he needs, what happens then? Does he fight from within? Does he accept his fate? Or does he begin to regret the move entirely? Ecclestone does not believe this is the story of Hamilton's resurgence. He believes this is the story of a man trying to write his own fairy tale ending, only to realize that some stories do not have happy endings. He believes that Hamilton's move to Ferrari is not about winning another championship, it is about proving something to himself, about trying to achieve something that no driver in modern history has done. But Ferrari does not care about personal legacies. It does not cater to individual desires. It is an empire that operates on its own terms. And if Ecclestone is right, if Ferrari does not fully embrace Hamilton as its leader, if the hunger within him is not as strong as it once was, if Leclerc refuses to step aside, then this move could go down not as Hamilton's greatest triumph, but as his greatest miscalculation. The move that was meant to be the final chapter in his legacy may instead become the moment that proves that no driver, not even the most successful one in history, is greater than the forces that govern Ferrari. Hamilton's move to Ferrari is not just another high-profile driver switch, it is an earthquake in the world of Formula One, a moment that has shattered the landscape of the sport, igniting a firestorm of debate, speculation, and skepticism. This is not merely a transfer, it is an epoch-defining shift, a transition that will either be remembered as the most audacious masterstroke of his legendary career or the moment when the weight of Ferrari's endless turmoil finally crushed even one of the sport's greatest icons. The questions surrounding this move are not simple, they are existential. Can Hamilton, at this stage of his career, bend Ferrari to his will? Can he overcome the institutional inefficiencies, the internal politics, the suffocating pressure that has chewed up and spat out world champions before him? Or has he stepped into an unfixable machine, an entity so entrenched in its own dysfunction that even his unparalleled experience, his unshakable mindset, and his relentless pursuit of excellence will not be enough to steer it back to glory? Bernie Ecclestone, never one to hold back, does not merely doubt Hamilton's ability to win a championship at Ferrari. He questions whether Hamilton will even see out his 2-year contract. He paints a picture of a driver stepping into the most high-pressure, most chaotic, most relentlessly scrutinized environment in all of motorsport. If Ferrari does not deliver from the outset, if the car is flawed, if the same self-inflicted wounds that have plagued them for over a decade begin to resurface, how long before Hamilton grows disillusioned? How long before frustration boils over? How long before he begins to ask himself if the dream of driving in Ferrari red was just an illusion, a final chapter that was never meant to be written? And more pressingly, how long before Ferrari itself begins to look toward Charles Leclerc as their undisputed future, as the leader they have cultivated and protected for years? If Leclerc asserts himself early in the season, if he is faster, if he wins races while Hamilton struggles to acclimate, will the team naturally start to pivot in his direction? Will Hamilton find himself sidelined, politically outmaneuvered, a 7-time world champion suddenly playing second fiddle to a driver nearly a decade his junior? But here's the thing. Doubt is the gasoline that has fueled Hamilton's career since day one. Every time the world has told him he cannot do something, he has done it. Every time people have written him off, he has rewritten the narrative. He has spent his entire existence proving people wrong, dismantling their skepticism, turning their doubts into stepping stones toward even greater achievements. This is not the first time his decision-making has been questioned. This is not the first time he has been told he is making a catastrophic mistake. This is not the first time he has been accused of chasing an impossible dream. And every single time, he has obliterated those doubts with a vengeance. The last time he made a move of this magnitude, the reaction was almost identical. When he left McLaren for Mercedes at the end of 2012, the consensus was universal: he had thrown his career away. He had walked away from a race-winning team, from a team that had nurtured him since childhood, to join a midfield operation that had shown flashes of competitiveness but no signs of long-term dominance. The world laughed. Experts dismissed it as a disaster in the making. Even some of his closest advisors warned him against it. But what happened next? He did not just win, he changed the face of Formula One. He built a dynasty. He turned Mercedes into the most dominant force the sport had ever seen, winning 6 titles in 7 years, rewriting the record books, redefining what sustained excellence looked like. He did not just make the right decision, he made a decision so right, so devastatingly successful, that it embarrassed every single person who had doubted him. And now, the cycle repeats. The same naysayers, the same skepticism, the same certainty that he has finally made the move that will mark his downfall. But what if history repeats itself, not as failure, but as yet another masterstroke? What if Ferrari, with all its flaws, with all its chaos, is the perfect final challenge for a driver who has always thrived under adversity? What if Hamilton is not walking into a doomed project, but an opportunity to cement his legacy in a way that no driver ever has before? Because if Hamilton wins a championship with Ferrari, it will not just be another title, it will be the title. The title that breaks the longest drought in Ferrari's history. The title that redeems the most famous team in motorsport. The title that stands above every other title he has won because it will have been achieved in the most treacherous, most unpredictable, most high-pressure environment in the sport. He does not need it to validate his greatness. He is already one of the greatest to ever do it. But if he does it, it will be the ultimate exclamation point, the final masterpiece in a career that has already defied every conceivable limitation. And here's what people continue to underestimate: Hamilton does not need Ferrari to be perfect. He does not need the best car. He has never needed perfection to win. He has won races in cars that should not have been capable of winning. He has delivered results in machinery that should not have been anywhere near the front. His ability to extract performance from imperfect situations, to outthink, outmaneuver, and outdrive the competition, is one of his greatest weapons. If Ferrari gives him a car that is even remotely competitive, if they are within striking distance of Red Bull, then he will be in the fight. And when Hamilton is in the fight, history has shown that anything is possible. But this battle will not just be fought on the track. It will be a war of mentality. A war of politics. A war of endurance. Because Ferrari is not just another team, it is an institution, a political minefield, a place where champions have gone to see their dreams crushed under the weight of expectations, of infighting, of relentless external pressure. Hamilton will not just have to beat Verstappen on Sundays, he will have to beat Ferrari itself. He will have to impose his will on a team that has historically resisted change, that has often been its own worst enemy. He will have to bring to Ferrari what he brought to Mercedes: a culture of excellence, a refusal to accept anything less than the highest standards, an uncompromising demand for precision in every aspect of operations. And then there is Leclerc, the prodigy, the homegrown talent, the driver Ferrari has long envisioned as their future. He is no passive teammate. He is not there to support Hamilton's ambitions. He is there to win. And if Ferrari finds itself in a position where it must choose, where it must prioritize one driver over the other, where the dynamics of the team begin to tilt in one direction, then who will they favor? Will Hamilton, a 7-time world champion, be given the full backing of a team that has built itself around Leclerc for years? Or will Ferrari's divided loyalties create an internal battle that is just as fierce as the one being fought on track? This is not just another season. This is not just another team change. This is an unmissable, once-in-a-lifetime, era-defining story that will captivate the sport like nothing else. It is either the greatest comeback in Formula One history or the most painful misstep of a legend who dared to believe he could defy the odds one more time. It is a drama that will unfold race by race, moment by moment, with the world watching, waiting, ready to judge, ready to celebrate, ready to criticize. Because if Hamilton pulls this off, if he conquers Ferrari, if he bends the chaos to his will and delivers what no one believes he can, then this will not just be a career-defining achievement. It will be the greatest triumph the sport has ever seen. And if he fails? Then the doubters will have their moment. But if history has taught us anything, it is this: betting against Hamilton has never been a wise decision. And this may just be the moment he proves it once again. Once again, the world watches. Once again, the paddock holds its breath. Once again, Lewis Hamilton stands at the edge of the unknown, staring into a future that is as uncertain as it is electrifying. But this time, the stakes are greater than ever. This is not just about another championship. This is not just about another season. This is not just about adding to an already unparalleled legacy. This is about something far more profound, far more intense, far more historically significant. This is about rewriting the very fabric of Formula One. This is about standing on the precipice of greatness and taking the final defining leap into immortality. Hamilton has never been a man who settles. He has never been a driver content with mere statistics, with records that, while impressive, could someday be eclipsed. He does not race for comfort. He does not compete for the sake of routine. He thrives in the fire, in the chaos, in the impossible. His career has been a testament to that. The story of a young prodigy who shattered expectations, a man who fought against the establishment and emerged as the most dominant driver of his generation, a warrior who has faced every challenge Formula One has thrown at him and conquered it with relentless precision. But even now, after 7 world titles, after rewriting the history books in ways no one thought possible, after standing atop the podium more times than any driver before him, there is one final question left unanswered. One final challenge that remains unconquered. One last chapter left unwritten. And now, in the most dramatic twist of fate, in the most audacious gamble of his career, he has chosen to take on that challenge with Ferrari, the most iconic yet paradoxical team in the history of motorsport. The team that has given the sport its most glorious triumphs, yet also its most painful collapses. The team that has embodied both absolute dominance and self-inflicted disaster. The team that, for all its unparalleled prestige, has been trapped in a seemingly endless cycle of unfulfilled potential. For nearly 2 decades, they have watched others take the crown, Mercedes, Red Bull, McLaren, while they have stumbled, faltered, come agonizingly close but never reached the summit. And now they have turned to Hamilton, the man who once stood as their greatest adversary, the driver who has crushed their dreams more times than they care to remember. They have placed their hopes in his hands, in the belief that if anyone can break the curse, if anyone can lead them back to the promised land, it is him. But history is not easily rewritten. The ghosts of Ferrari's past loom large. This is not a team that simply hands over the reins to an outsider. This is not a team that bends easily to the will of a single driver, even if that driver is a 7-time world champion. Ferrari operates on its own terms. It always has. It always will. And therein lies the greatest test of all, not just for Hamilton, but for Ferrari itself. Can they evolve? Can they shed the weight of their own history and truly embrace the mindset of a champion? Can they rise above the internal politics, the strategic blunders, the constant, suffocating pressure that has crushed so many before? Because Hamilton will not accept failure. He will not accept excuses. He will not accept the same old Ferrari. If this team is to win, it must become something greater than it has been in years. And the question remains, can they? But Ferrari's internal struggles are only one piece of this monumental puzzle. The battle Hamilton faces is not just against history. It is not just against the weight of expectation. It is against a grid that has never been more competitive, against a generation of drivers who have spent their entire careers chasing him, waiting for the moment to dethrone him. The man at the center of that challenge is Max Verstappen, the reigning king of Formula One, the driver who has transformed Red Bull into an unstoppable force, the man who, in many ways, represents everything Hamilton must overcome. Verstappen is relentless. He is ruthless. He has no interest in legacy, only in winning, only in total domination, only in ensuring that no one ever questions his place at the top. He has spent years building his empire, dismantling his rivals with a level of aggression and precision that has left little room for doubt. If Hamilton is to take his 8th title, if he is to cement himself as the greatest of all time beyond debate, he must go through Verstappen. He must dismantle the very machine that has ruled the sport for the past several seasons. He must do what no one has yet been able to do, take down Red Bull at the height of its power. But Verstappen is not the only obstacle. There is another, just as formidable, just as personal. Charles Leclerc is not just another teammate. He is Ferrari's golden child, the driver they have spent years crafting into a champion. He is the man who has endured Ferrari's darkest days, who has stayed loyal even as the team has failed him time and time again. And now he faces the greatest challenge of his career, not just fighting for a title, but fighting for his own place within the team he has always called home. Because Hamilton is not coming to Ferrari to be Leclerc's mentor. He is not coming to play a supporting role in someone else's story. He is coming to win. He is coming to take control. He is coming to make this team his own. And Leclerc will not accept that without a fight. This is not just a rivalry between teammates. This is a war for the soul of Ferrari. This is a clash of generations, a battle of wills, a test of who will rise and who will be left behind. If Leclerc wants to prove he is Ferrari's true leader, he must do the unthinkable. He must beat Hamilton. He must take down a 7-time champion in equal machinery. He must stake his claim, not just with words, but with victories, with performances that leave no doubt. And history suggests that is no easy task. Because Hamilton has been here before. He has faced internal battles. He has fought against teammates who believed they could stand on equal footing. And time again, he has emerged victorious, leaving those rivals broken in his wake. But this fight is about more than just Hamilton, more than just Leclerc, more than just Verstappen. It is about the sport itself. It is about the moment that will define an era. Formula One has never seen a battle like this, an aging legend fighting against time, against history, against a rising generation that refuses to step aside. This is not just another season. This is not just another championship. This is the defining chapter in a story that has captivated the world for nearly 2 decades. Either Hamilton completes his mission, delivers Ferrari its long-awaited title, and writes his name in the stars as the undisputed greatest to ever do it, or he falls in the most spectacular, heartbreaking fashion the sport has ever seen. There is no middle ground. There is no safety net. This is all or nothing. This is the final reckoning. The world is watching. The pressure is suffocating. The expectations are astronomical. The battle lines are drawn. The war for Formula One's soul is about to begin. And when the lights go out, when the engines roar, when the first wheel-to-wheel battles unfold, one thing will become clear: this is not just racing. This is history in the making. And when it is all said and done, when the dust settles and the checkered flag falls for the final time, the world will know the truth. Either Lewis Hamilton is the greatest of all time, or he will have given everything in pursuit of the one dream that even he could not conquer. But one thing is certain. This will be the greatest fight Formula One has ever seen. And it all starts now.